Hello and welcome. I got another special video for you this time. You may remember that a few weeks, or frankly probably a few months back by this point, that I did a review of the Raphnet-Tech dual port N64 to USB adapter, and I really liked it. It was one of the few adapters that I've seen anywhere on the market that gives you a true rumble support, and not only that, but it actually went beyond and gave you also the access to the game cartridge, so that I can put in an N64 memory card to the controller and have immediate access to it as if I was connected to a real system. This is the pinnacle of the way to play emulation on your computer, because I am a major fan of emulation legally done on the computer for the preservation of these increasingly rare and expensive games. That is why it is my pleasure to be reviewing for you today, for your entertainment, this. What is this? It's an empty bag. I was so excited when I got this adapter that I forgot to actually show the adapter by itself before I did anything with it. And I've actually been working with this for weeks, getting my little enclosure ready for this adapter because I went all out. I totally geeked and nerd out on the design of this. And I'm very excited for you to see the final product. But before I show you that final product, after which I'll be doing some gameplay demonstration of it, I want to tell you what it is. It is a up to 4-player adapter for both the NES controllers and the SNES controllers. Now you may not be aware of this, but internally, on a design level, the NES and SNES are almost identical when it comes to how they present the data. There's both the voltage, the data, the clock, the sync, and some special bits beyond that. So, other than the way the controller was designed and the plug it goes into, they are very, very similar. Now there are a couple extra buttons on the SNES, and so in order for this adapter to work for SNES, you do have to have a little toggle switch on the back, or you can manually jump out some solder points. I haven't done that yet, but when I get my SNES controllers and I make my SNES to NES controller adapters to fit into my controller ports on my final product, I'll be doing a revision, and I'll let you guys see at that point if it works as advertised. So without further ado, let me show you just a couple steals of how I went through, because unfortunately I don't have video for how I went through and did all this. And honestly, I don't think you want me to have done that much video work. I think it'd be kind of boring after a while to see me sitting there kind of filing out these holes to get just the perfect fit for the NES controller. But you'll see in just a second. So without further ado, let me show you the process of what I went through. Okay, so here is at the beginning of my project. I had an initial idea. I wanted to make my 4-port adapter match the look and design that the official NES 4-score 4-player adapter looked like, which they released back in like 1990. However, I quickly realized that I made a couple mistakes. First of all, this enclosure box, grossly overpriced, grossly over everything. It's too big. The thing was, I really thought I was going to be able to just breeze through this project real quick and have a great looking thing when I was done. However, I'm not an arts and craft person, so everything that should have been done quickly took me a lot longer to accomplish. The first thing I did is I actually used a micrometer to figure out the basic dimensions of the controller port. Once I had figured out the dimensions of the overall controller port molding, I went ahead and figured out how to space these. So I found the middle point of my metal plate here, and then I spaced them out such that each one was approximately, I think it was 37 millimeters from one another. Now to actually cut the holes, what I did is I started off using a step drill bit, and that's what you can see on the right, is that I got all the way up to one of the edge lines of my acceptable cutting area, and then I stopped. And at that point I brought in a jigsaw, did most of the work around it, and then to finish things off, I actually used a handful of files. I used a rounded file to make the edges rounded, and I had never done anything like this, so I definitely wasn't perfect. But for my purposes, I think the end product, it looked good, so I was satisfied with that. So since I had completely messed up on the size of the enclosure anyway, I decided that I was going to go one extra step. Instead of just making it look like the 4-score, I wanted to actually resemble the NES itself. So I got out my micrometer again, and I figured out how wide the black area was on the front of the front loader NES. This is not the Famicom, but the traditional VCR kind of front loader that we had in America. Now, just for one last bit of fun, I decided that I wanted to put the Nintendo Entertainment System right there on the front. And fortunately, I had a relative who lives nearby who has one of those silhouette vinyl cutting machines. we used a font called Pretendo, which came out pretty close in look to the official Nintendo font. They've done a great job there replicating it. And it is a open source font, so you can download it for free. And here's everything all wired up. I did use just a little heat shrink whenever I had to attach the wire to a longer portion once I was done doing the daisy chaining. And here's the finished product. Is this thing cool or what? I fully confess I went way overboard on doing this. When everything was said and done, you know, the Raphnet-Tech adapter, it was only like $30, and that's about the price point that most of his products hit. By the time I was done with all this, oh gosh, I spent about $80 on the enclosure, on the ports, on the little adapter I have here on the back, which is where I can connect to the computer, on the spray paint, which I had to buy just a couple cans of spray paint. Yeah, so I went too far. I shouldn't have done that much. When I got done and added everything up, I went, ooh, oh, that was too much. But man, I am so thrilled with how this turned out. You can see here that I messed up pretty significantly on getting this this little ladder effect done right. But you know, even with that, I like it. I think this turned out fantastic. But the real question is, how will it look playing games? Is this thing actually functional? So without further ado, let's hook this up to the computer. Let's see how it works. All right, so now we're hooked up. I got my project right here with my controller port plugged in to my original NES controller, and I'm going to be testing against FCEUX, but I mean, this will work with RetroArch or any other emulator you want to try also. The first thing you're going to have to do is come here and go to Input. We're going to configure this real quick. Just up, down, left, right, select. You can see it's just putting it in like a regular joystick. That's one of the nice things about these Raphnet connectors, it just works. Okay, so now all I need is to test out a game, and I'm going to test out I don't know why I got this game as a kid, but I did, and it ended up being one of those really fun games that I've always enjoyed. But it is Gilligan's Island. Alright, so we've got to find some stuff as the point of this game. Trying to escape the island. And yeah, I'm just as bad at it as I was when I was a kid. Oh gosh. Okay, so that's a fun one for me, but let's test this out with something a little more demanding than that one. I mean, honestly, if I didn't know I was on an emulator, getting to use a controller like this, I'd have zero idea that this wasn't the original system. It responds exactly the way you would expect it to. Okay, so let's stop there. Here are the big dollar questions I know everyone's really wondering about. First of all, can this do the light gun? Unfortunately, at this time, no, it cannot. However, this is an open source product. So anyone who wants to come in and modify the code, such as, say, myself, can do so if they can figure it out. And I've talked with the guy at Raphnet.Tech in the past. He's very helpful and very responsive to this kind of thing. So hopefully I can modify my own to someday be able to do the light gun support, because, you know, it's actually not that hard to get it working on an LCD screen, provided you're not using the original light gun. If you use one of the Zap guns from Hyperkin, then yes, this works just fine on an LCD screen. You just have to be able to modify the code or use a patch file of someone who's already modified it for you to be able to operate on the LCD screens. If you want to know more about that, let me know down in the comments below, because I can easily explain how the light gun works and how you can modify it to use it on your TV today with kind of several different options out there. The second big dollar question, will this work with the microphone on the Famicom systems? The answer actually is yes. There is a firmware revision out there that enables the microphone on the controller port to work just fine. So that's going to wrap this review up. You know what? I'm just thrilled to pieces about this product from Raphnet. I am loving his stuff. I'm loving the fact that it lets me use my original controllers, my original hardware on emulators. That way I get to protect the lifespan of my hardware equipment, and at the same time I get to enjoy this classic NES feeling. In fact, after I finish this video, I'm going to keep playing some Metroid, maybe go back to Gilligan's Island. We'll see what happens here. If you don't want to have just that bare circuit board, Raphnet-Tech does offer other options. There is one that is an option just like the N64 controller adapter I showed you in the past, where all it is the NES controller port straight into a USB, and that will give you everything just like this if that's all you're looking for. It's just as soon as I saw that circuit board and I saw that it worked for NES or SNES right out of the box, I knew I had to get on that and have fun with that. I hope you're enjoying these because I have this one, I have some more console repairs, I have a console mod coming up, and a video that's going to be talking about why this mod is important. But you know what? Let me shield for just a moment here, guys. Let me be a sellout for just a moment and say I do have a Patreon. If you're enjoying this content, I do hope that you would think about becoming one of my Patreons, because this stuff, it's a lot of fun. I love doing it. But it's not exactly the cheapest hobby out there, and I would greatly enjoy any support you'd be willing to throw my way if you're enjoying this content. For everyone else, if you would just please hit that like button down below. If you're not subscribed and you're enjoying this, maybe think about subscribing and hitting the bell icon to be notified of all future content I put out. And until the next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.